So hello and welcome to the Expat Pod. My name is James, your host, and today I'm joined by Ceyda. And we met via Instagram where you sent me a message asking me about the podcast and saying you wish to share your story. And I'm very thankful for you to do that. And yeah, here's your chance to tell all about your experiences of living abroad and hopefully give some great advice. So if you want to give yourself an introduction.
Thank you, James. Not inviting, but basically, we connected. And it's super nice because I saw your podcast and I was like, oh my God, this is a great idea. And I moved to Sweden from Turkey 2 years ago. So I am an expat. And then, my name is Ceyda and I'm 28 years old. And, I've been living in Izmir, which is like a very sunny, nice city in Turkey. And then I moved to Gothenburg 2 years ago, which can be dark and lonely and rainy. but it's a nice city.
Perfect. Well, we'll get into the podcast then. So I know I'm in section 1 of the podcast on about getting there. So Ceyda, this is where I ask my guests a bit of the kind of the how, why of the decision to move or take the chance or the risk to live abroad. So obviously you left sunny Turkey. What was your kind of reason for wanting to leave?
Well, my reason was my husband, who also Turkish, and when he's an engineer, and then he got a job in Sweden, in Gothenburg, and this is like very common thing, I think, because whenever I meet someone who's like a wife, and then we talk about it, and they're like, "Oh, my husband, and he's working in Volvo," so it's like very common thing. But I don't have that fancy story, but he found a job, and I actually pursued him, like we were looking for something outside of our comfort zone. We wanted to move abroad. So, and then he was the lucky one because engineers are like really wanted in Europe generally, I can say. And I was working in marketing at that time. So it wasn't that easy without the language especially. And so he found a job and then we moved. We were like, it happened like a month or 2 months. Like he found a job, we applied, and then we just packed our bags and then said goodbye, and then we just left the country and found ourselves there.
Was your husband looking for work in Sweden specifically, or just in general, the automotive industry in Europe?
I mean, we were like, basically looking for. I mean, I have a degree in translation, which is like different, and then
it's a very useful degree.
Yeah, well. Yeah, it depends on the country and everything. But it was fun when I was like studying and everything. And then it actually opened a lot of doors because when you learn the language, I think that's like the key. Learning a language is always a good idea. It just opens the world, for you. And then, so I was studying German, like translation between German and Turkish and German. And then we were like, and then my husband was also like, okay, we can get a job in Germany. The idea was to move to Germany because it's like the engineering, world and everything. But he was generally also applying. And then we got an answer from Sweden. So we were like, okay, why not? Let's try it out. And so far it's been great.
Wonderful. What time of year did you move to Sweden?
It was August. So it was really nice. August 2021. It was sunny, green.
It's beautiful, right?
Yeah, it is beautiful for a short time.
It tricks you, I think. Gothenburg is it tricks you in the summer because it's so beautiful to live in and be in, and then when the darkness descends, it changes completely.
Absolutely. It's like unbelievable. It's like, oh, we moved here. It's sunny. It's like green water. It's clean. The air is clean. It's perfect. And then suddenly it becomes like dark. And then you're like, oh, okay, what's happening right now? And you just find yourself in this like rain, like dark, gray days. And it can be tough. I'm going to be honest completely today.
So when you first moved, then obviously being part of the European Union, there was no issues with visas. You could just go and work straight away. Did you have to go to Skatteverket and sort your tax out?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think I'm on the like lucky part of this story because when you get a job, like when you have a purpose, I think it's easier to get a visa and everything, like the residency permit, because otherwise they like question everything, like why are you moving, like why do you want to go and everything, because I don't like this term, but Turkey is a third world country, and I mean, yeah, it can be tough for someone who wants to just move. It's not like it doesn't happen like this, but then when you have a job, when you have a security, and you can show these, and then it was fine. I think we got our visa in like a month or something, because my husband's like start date was in August, and then we got our visa in June, and then we just packed our bags in July and then moved here. But it's tough. Like, you don't know anything. You have to go to Skatteverket. Like, what is that? And then,
Your personal number.
oh my God, that was horrible. And I really want to tell this story, actually, because it's like, it was really complicated in the website. And it's not very good when you translate it. It just translates it from Google Translate. And it's a nightmare. And then it just says like, book a time. And then you will come and pick up your card. So we were like, okay. So we moved in August. And then we were like, I found this time slot in September. So we were like waiting. And then I was like, I realized this doesn't sound right. Because then it's going to be like, there's going to be like a 1 month gap, And then I just said like, okay, we should ask someone about it. And then I just went to, I'm not very shy on asking things. And I'm very like extrovert, so I can just talk to anyone. I don't care. And then I just went into Skatteverket and I was like, is it right? Like, do we have to wait? And then like, no, you just have to say that you're living here. And then I said like, why don't you put this on the website so we can see? And and then yeah, it was tough, but I'm glad that I was like, okay, we're gonna ask then. And this is my advice, like ask anything, because you can't know.
Yeah, I find Swedes, especially like the government officers, are quite friendly when you ask them a question. Not so friendly in the street, but in government buildings, they're quite happy to help you. Because I had to go to Migration Services first and get a work permit, and then use that to get my personal number sent off for. And they said it can take between 2 and 18 weeks, and mine took 16 weeks. And then I got to go to Skatteverket to get my picture taken, and then I had my my ID card, which I didn't get till January, and I moved in August. No, I must have got it in November. I must have got it before Christmas. It's on my blog somewhere. It was a long time.
Oh, and that's a terrible timing, because it's like Christmas time. You can't find anyone.
Well, I moved during the summer break, which was the worst thing as well. I moved 3rd of August, so people were still on vacation, and my visa was getting signed in like 17th of July, and no one was working, so no one told me that I had my visa approved until like the end of July. I was like, oh great, so what? But
oh my God. Yeah, Swedes take their vacation time like really seriously.
I mean, I'm just jealous because I'm used to not having to do that. So
me too. I totally get it. Me too. Yeah, it's crazy.
So when you moved, then did did you get help with accommodation? What did you have to kind of move to?
Yeah, actually, we were really lucky in that sense because my husband's company was a consultancy company, and then they helped us to get an apartment. It was like a 1-bedroom apartment, and I think it was like a little bit overpriced, but still, I mean, it's really, that's another thing about, I think, Sweden. Like, it's really hard to get an apartment if you're not in the queue, or if you don't know anyone, or if you have no idea what Lockit is or anything. So, I mean, yeah.
Or home queue or...
Oh, yeah, exactly. Boplats and everything. So, so we were lucky. They just sent us like 3 apartments, I think, and then we chose one of them. And it's also tough. Like, we had no idea where are these homes, houses. And then we were looking into Google Maps and trying to find like people from there. Like, what does the street look like? Is it like dangerous? Is it good? So what's around and everything. So, but we were lucky enough to find an apartment. And then we lived there for a year. And then we got like first, I don't know how to say it in English, like first hand. It's like very Swedish, first hand, the apartment. So it was like pure luck, actually. Yeah, so now we're living there, and it's nice.
Quite a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's also scary. Like, you have no idea, like, what, if you're like close to the city or what's happening. Like, it's impossible to know unless you have a friend or someone to, show you the way. But otherwise, it's sometimes you just need to trust your guts, I think, in these things.
Yeah, when I moved, I found waterfront cabins. I don't know if you know what they are, but there is I think I paid 8,000 krones a month for 45 square meters of nothingness. It was tiny. I kept up in the bedroom because like 1.50 meters, and then I got the bigger one, which was 16,000 krones per month, just for me. So it's like a lot of my weight is going on beds, but it was much nicer. Which is actually where I first started filming this podcast from. So it's in the early episodes of that.
No, no, but they are crazy expensive.
It is, but it's the only place I could find really without, having so much of a headache. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, you just get what you find here. So I don't see the option to say like, oh, no, we don't want that. When you find something, you're just like, okay, we will try. At least we will have some place.
There's a bed.
So I think that's sad. Yeah, that's sad. Well, that's life in here, so we need to be honest.
When you moved, what was your expectation of what Sweden was going to be like?
Well, I read a lot of, like, I did my research before moving here. And then I was expecting like coldness because obviously the people, in Turkey, it's like, I don't know how many people right now, but it was like 86 million something people living in there. So here it's like 10 million. So I was like, okay, I think it's going to be like cold. I was expecting, it is cold, obviously, but you're like really getting used to it it's like the water. Water is fine. When you get in, it becomes really, really nice. So it's actually, when it's like -3, I feel like, oh, it's nice. So I don't mind it at all. But also about people, I heard like really nice things, because that was I was actually afraid of like getting, I don't know, like discriminated or, these things. Because you never know. It can happen in anywhere, obviously. But then I love being with people, around people. So if I were like alone just because I'm Turkish, I think I would be really, really upset. And then I read this, that people are really open-minded in here and everything. So, and I think they're right. I can see that. my expectations met my reality right now, I can say.
That's a good kind of research. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I read some things like, okay, Swedes are really in their they're like cocoon. I don't know if that's right to say, but like, the culture
In the bubble.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I can see that, but it's also with the younger generation, the people that I'm actually friends with right now, it's not that true because they're more like open-minded. They're really excited to meet new cultures and the new people. So it makes it, easier to become friends. I mean, the only thing is that you also have to be open-minded, like you also need to be like, oh, I'm wondering about your life as well. Otherwise, it's just, yeah, okay, you're nice and I'm nice, but I have my friends, so I don't need you. It can happen as well. But when you're open-minded, I think that's also the key that to get friends, I might say.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to discuss about your time before you moved?
I was, well, it's like, so I was always like curious about other cultures. And ever since I started learning English, I think I was like fourth grade. And then I started to become more like involved and, see like, oh, this is interesting. I want to see the world and everything. So, and then I realized that I really love learning languages. And then it led me to have a degree in translation, which was really fun. And then I actually lived in Berlin for a month to just learn the language. And I mean, it's not enough, like a month, but it was like a beginning. And it was fun. And then when I was there completely alone, and then I realized like I made friends, I like learned the city, and then I felt like, okay, this is something that I really want to do. Like I want to live abroad because I can do it. I had that confidence. I don't know, maybe it was because I was ignorant at that time. I was like, oh, okay, I can do anything. But it was fun. And then I think that also like triggered my willingness to live abroad. And then here I am today.
Amazing. Well, a great way to end the first section of the podcast. So welcome to section 2 of the podcast, all about being there. So Jay, this is where I kind of get a bit of the glimpse of the first impressions of your new home, and then some kind of stories or some kind of experiences you've had in the kind of time you lived there. So obviously you've been there for 2 years or just over. So you can cast your mind back to when you first arrived, that wonderful summer. What were your first impressions of Sweden?
Well, my first impression, I mean, it's also very hard to describe because when you first move, because I really, really wanted to live abroad before. So for me, it was like, okay, the dream is coming true. Because that's also another thing that when I first told my close like friends and family from Turkey, when I was like, oh, we're moving to Sweden, and they were like, oh my God, it's like a dream. Like, everyone was so excited. And then they were like, oh my God, it's Sweden. It's so great. And I was like, yeah, it's so great. And then when we moved here, the first month, it was like a dream. I was like a tourist, like, walking around, like checking, oh, this is so nice, taking pictures, selfies and stuff, because I was alone, basically. And it was so nice. Then I think around like September, because I didn't have a job at that time. And then I was like, okay, I will apply some things and then something will come up. It's life, it happens. And then I was like super optimistic. And I started like applying to jobs. I was also like walking around as a tourist as well. And then I realized that maybe it's not going to be like happening soon, like finding a job, because I think that's the toughest thing for me in Sweden, to find a job. And I understand that it's really, I'm like looking from like a Swede perspective here. And then I can say, like, I have no record living here. And the places that I've worked in Turkey, they don't know those companies and the people. And I mean, I'm saying like in my CV, oh, this is what I did. And they can like, okay, I mean, yeah, you can, yeah, you did that, but it's really hard to trust, you have to build that trust first. Then like networking comes. So you have to network. Then I realized that. And I thought to myself, like, what's the best way that I can do for networking? And I need to learn the language because I want to live here permanently. Because I like it. It's very green. It's very nice. I had no idea about the winter. So, and no, but I still think the same anyway. I realized that, okay, I need to learn the language. And then the best way is to get into a course, like enroll a course and stuff. So there's a great like facility, I can say. It's called Folkeuniversitetet here. And it's, you have to pay for something. But because I wasn't working at that time, I just decided to do intensive courses. So I can learn the basics really quick. And then I love learning languages. So it's very personal. Because it doesn't happen to everyone. So I just don't want to get everyone's hopes high here. But it's like, I love learning languages. So that's why it was like, and also I know German and English helps a lot for learning Swedish, especially, I might say, because there are a lot of words, they're basically the same and you just pronounce it differently. So that's the thing that you need to learn. And then I took some intensive courses and then I found friends, which I'm still friends with those people. I still see them. One of them is like really my best friend right now from Netherlands, and she's living here also. So that's how I started my journey. And then it's just the reality, like you need to do something to get into the society. Another thing is that I think because we all have these expectations from ourselves, I was like so optimistic, like, oh, I'm going to get something, like a job, it's fine. And then I realized, no, it's not going to happen. And the winter started, the darkness came, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm so depressed. So it was a tough time. But then I realized, okay, then I need to do something else. I need like a plan B. And then the plan B was like to start an internship. I found an internship. I was looking for a job, but then I said, okay, I need to expand my network. So I just started with an internship. So you just need to see it as an opportunity, whatever you can find. Whatever helps you to get into the job market. I don't know, the society and everything. What was the question? I just like, I was talking a lot.
No, it's about your first impression.
Yeah, I think the first impressions, very like illusion, I can say. Because then the reality comes and then you need to be like realistic at the end of the day. And of course, see the good parts because you're living this experience. It's so nice. But also, on the other hand, you need to be like, okay, this is the reality. What can I do to make my life better here? Otherwise, you're just going to sit at home and then not going to be happy or find anyone to, interact with.
Yeah, it's making the most of it, I suppose. And as you said, you moved because your husband got work. So, he had it kind of sorted. He knew what he was going to. Whereas, I guess for yourself, it's, well, I want to be with him. So I'm going to go and take the leap as well. But it sounds like you've been very brave and done the right things and really taken a lot of opportunities that you've had in order to, go to similar thing to SFE, but obviously the intensive version, which, I didn't actually get to go to SFE because I missed the first lesson and then they wouldn't let me start again without applying, so I didn't go.
No, it's not the best, and I didn't go to SFE at first. I might say the Folkeuniversitetet has this private courses that you pay for it. Because I didn't get my personal number right away, so I just wanted to do something, and then I realized, okay, we can pay a little bit, and then I can get quickly the language and everything. So that's how I did. And I'm really glad I did that because SFE is, it's a great opportunity. It's like free of charge. And then you, of course, meet other expats and people. You share the same goals and everything. But when you pay, it was like kind of like really private class. We were like 5 in the class. So we were talking about everything, all the time, and we get the opportunity to talk. So that's the key of the, learning the language. Like, you have to talk. Otherwise, it's just, you're thinking it here, it's perfect. But when you speak, it doesn't come out as good. So
then once you've kind of taken the internships and everything's kind of started going from there, you've got your first kind of experience of working culture in Sweden. How is that compared to back in Turkey? What was the difference like?
It's something that I've discussed a lot with other, like, my colleagues and everyone else, especially at Sweden, because it is really different. I see it here, like, you have to take your own initiative most of the time. I think in the work culture here, it's like they don't say that, oh, you're going to do this, you need to do this now. You know what I mean? Like, they don't give you those, like, exact tests, or like your manager doesn't come and say, like, okay, now you're doing this. Instead, there is like these tasks. Now we're going to share who's going to do what, like, what do you want to do? What are you good at? And, you're always in this discussion. But in Turkey, it's like, I mean, this is my experience, obviously. I'm not saying like every company is like this, but most of the time it's more like there's a manager that you need to please that person. And then it's like, they just tell you, like, you have to do this until tomorrow. And then you have to do it. The jobs are not like, unless you're working for government or something, it's not like super safe, I might say, So they can easily replace you. So I remember, like, when I was working in Turkey, I was working in an exhibition company, which was really fun to work. Obviously, it's like fairs and everything. So it was really nice. And it was my first experience. But it was sometimes so stressful, especially during those, like, exhibition times. I remember, like, crying because another thing is, like, also what I see from my friends as well in Turkey, like, they don't have boundaries, or like, how it is in Sweden, like, they just, okay, I start from 7 till 4:30, whatever, and then I'm just off, because work-life balance is super important here. This is, like, I really, really admire in Sweden, because in Turkey, they just call you around like 11, 12 a.m. and then they just, like, 1 a.m. and then they're like, okay, you have to do this. They call you on Sundays and you have to do it. But here, I mean, it's like when they call you, I never got this before. Like, it didn't happen to me, or I haven't happened to me yet. But it's like, I'm sure it's going to be something like super important that they're calling me on a Sunday. Yeah. So in that sense, I really admire. I mean, I think it's like a standard answer from everyone, unless like Sweden or Denmark or something, because like Scandinavia is really unique in that sense. They really, appreciate the work-life balance here, because it should be like that. I mean, we are working till we die almost. So we need to make the best out of it as well. Am I right?
Yeah, completely. It's just quite a sad thing to think of.
Okay, change the subject. Ask something
No, but
else.
you're right, and that's why I really like the working culture in Sweden, and it's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to say was for the work. I really enjoyed my job. I was working in similar industry to your husband, different company, but same place. And you're right, you had full autonomy on your role. I often had to do wind tunnel testing, which meant I had to go and do longer shifts. And if I did longer shifts, I get the time back. So it was, in other countries, you might just be, oh, well, that's just part of the job. You're getting paid for that, so accept it, which is pretty good. And the UK is quite similar, I think. Now, it depends on the industry you're in, but since COVID especially, a lot of companies are becoming a bit more flexible because they have to be competitive with other people's demands in work, and maybe the rest of the world is following. But I guess we're quite privileged to be in Northern Europe. It's quite a nice place to work, and other places might not the same way, and you have to acknowledge that kind of privilege.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think they like Sweden, or generally Europe, embrace that hybrid working culture now. So, and which is really good. Like, when you say, because this is also very interesting. When you're sick, everyone expects you to be like at home, like resting, so you don't also like spread the germs and everything. But in Turkey, you have to go to a doctor. You have to get like I don't know what is it called, like paper from the doctor that shows that it's like a proof that you are sick. And then you have to leave that to work. Otherwise, you just can't say like, oh, I'm sick, I'm just going to be at home. It doesn't work that way.
I think they have a good level of trust in society in Sweden because work satisfaction is quite high. So why would you want to not work? Because most people do jobs they want to do because the society seems to have their kind of mind in the right place in terms of making it a fun place to be in. And if you like the job, you're well respected or well treated, then you will work harder.
That's exactly. And it's like basically like human right. When you're sick, you're sick. You can't do anything. You can't expect anyone to, be there, like work like 100%. So I really, I admire this like trust culture in Sweden.
Kind of going on to more fun things to talk about with Swedish culture. How have you found the kind of cuisine and the food? Do you like the kebab pizzas that they're obsessed about?
Okay, I have to clarify something here as a Turkish person. This is the question that I got actually when I don't remember who asked me that. It was a Swede, but we were talking about this, and then they said like, I said like, what is kebab pizza? It sounds really weird. And then they said like, isn't it from Turkey? And I'm like, no, we don't. Okay, people. We don't have kebab pizza in Turkey. So it's a very, very unique to Swedes. Even though it sounds Turkish, it's not. So I just want to clarify that from here.
It's the same with Swedish tacos. They have tacos on Fridays. And they have the whole aisle in the supermarkets for like Mexican food. But it's not even Mexican food.
No, it's not. But it's really cute that they like found these things and then they made it Swedish in a way. I think that's really cute. I really like it. But I'm coming from a very like rich cuisine, like Turkish food. It's I think it's like the third greatest like cuisine in the world or something. I read that. It's not a lie. I'm not exaggerating because it's very rich, like. So, it's tough. I can't compare many, Sweden has its great things, like potatoes, great. Fish is really good. I love the fish here. And, yeah. But it's really, I don't know what to say. That's very tricky. I don't want to say anything like wrong here. But it's not comparable to Turkish food, unfortunately. But the thing is, I love cooking, and then I do that a lot at home. So it's also a good remedy to homesickness.
One of my next questions.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
I used that quite a lot when I was feeling a bit homesick. I'd either have a supply of English snacks, which reminded me of home, which was always quite nice. Or I would, cook something that I used to have a lot in my house. Might not be English food, because English food is like Swedish food, probably. It's not the most famous. Although we do have quite a rich cuisine, I would say. It's just tourists think it's fish and chips, and that's it. But we have a much broader, deeper cuisine in England, and I encourage everyone to go and explore real British food. Like Yorkshire pudding is one of the best inventions ever.
I'm actually waiting for my like permanent visa, or maybe like in 5 years I can be a Swedish citizen, and then I can actually visit England. Otherwise, I have to get a visa for England. That's another reality.
Is that only because of Brexit? Because surely before you didn't need to. It's because of the European Union, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's I have residency permit, so I can travel inside the Europe, but it doesn't. It's excluded like Britain, United Kingdom, and US as well. So I can't travel. I have to get a separate visa.
Because Norway is not EU, right? But it's Schengen.
Is it? No, it's not Schengen, but they are in the Nordic Union. So because I have Swedish residency, then I can.
How did you find it when you first moved in terms of, because I was always converting things back to pounds, and it was quite shocking. It was like, wow, this is very expensive. Why am I spending like, £3 for bananas? Didn't understand why. You slowly kind of get out that mindset of it, but it felt like it was quite scary at first.
I was doing that when I was in Berlin, especially. I mean, because the Turkish lira is really bad right now. Even then, it was 2014 when I was in Berlin, and it was like €1 was like three Turkish liras or something. And so I was always like multiplying. And I was like, oh my God, it's like, is it expensive? And then I realized like, no, I mean, it's normal for this country. It is expensive for me. So when we first moved here, I think kron was not that different than lira. So I realized that it is, of course, more expensive than Turkey, but it wasn't that different. But now it is different, especially when you want to buy like plane tickets and stuff. I always check with kron, and now I realize like Turkish lira is cheaper than krons, obviously. So, but I was shocked in the sense of like the market prices, it was high, and obviously the rent is super high, and I don't understand this. Like there is no logic. I can't.
I think a lot of students live alone in Sweden, so we'd have like, when I was a student in England, you'd share a flat with people, and when you get your first job, you share with people. In Sweden, they seem to all live alone really early. So if you think you've got 3 people who are 22 to 25, all living in them by themselves rather than with people, you've gone from needing 1 place to 3 places. And there's obviously everyone in the city does that, so it ends up being a house per person rather than 1 house for 3 people. It's the same in the UK when like divorce rates went up, and you go from seeing couples sharing a house to having 2 houses because one of them's moved out. And that's the biggest issue with housing is divorce rates mean people don't live together, so one normal family is now using 2 houses, so there's less houses for other people.
I get it. Wow, that's really logical. Now I understand. Okay, then now it makes sense.
I mean, I heard that. I didn't think of it myself.
No, okay. But still, it makes whoever said that, I think it makes sense. Like whenever I speak to someone, I always say this, like, yes, there is difficulties. Like in life, it's life itself, But other than that, Sweden is very calm country, I might say. And the water is beautiful. The water that we drink is beautiful. And the air quality is super high. So, and I see that, I don't know, maybe it's special to Gothenburg in that sense, but I see like people are happy here. They're like jogging in the morning, and then they just like, whenever I see someone on the street, I'm like always like smiling, and then they smile back. It's like, it's so nice, And you feel like,
really, they smile back at you? They usually will look away from me. Like, do I know you? No.
I don't know. I just yeah, that's maybe, I don't know why, but I always like I'm not smiling to everyone like a creep, like not like this.
Have you noticed that Swedish people are similar to solar panels? That when the sun comes out, they all look at the sun.
Yeah, exactly. I know. They just stand there, and then they're like so happy.
They all like
sun.
point in unison. Like you see a line of people like looking up and smiling at the sun, and like the lunchtime, even in March or something, it's like, oh, the sun's out, yay!
Yeah. But that's so cute. I mean, you actually appreciate the sun. Now I appreciate the sun because we don't see it that often, unfortunately. And now I understand them. Because at first I was like, okay, what are they doing? Do I need to like stop also? Like, where are we looking at? And now I realize like, oh, it's the sun. No, it's quite cute that they appreciate life.
I think so, especially the weather, and you notice it in the summer when they have a lot more festivals and parties, and the neighborhoods kind of have a different feeling to them. It's like they hibernate in the winter, which is probably not a bad thing because it means you've got the summer to be to flourish, and then you can have that rest and time off, which we probably all need. We just don't give ourselves the time to do it usually. But kind of on the topic of that, how often do you tend to go home, or do you try and go home in the winter so you get some sun? Did you go home for the holiday period, or?
Well, the thing is, it's kind of, I mean, I was there the summer before, because this summer, the past summer, we had to apply to extension of our residency. In that period, that when you apply, they take away your existing residency permit card, and that's why you can't leave the country. I mean, you can leave the country, but then you don't have anything to show them that you're, coming back. So it's a very dangerous, risky, not dangerous, but risky move. So we decided to stay here, and my husband's parents visited us this summer. So I've been to Turkey only once since moving to Sweden. The reason is that actually for us, it's like Turkey's there. It's our country. We know Turkey, and we can go back whenever we want. So instead, when we have this opportunity to travel around the world, because we have the residency, we are trying to do that. Actually, I don't know, maybe it sounds mean and weird, but this is the thing that we see in life. Like, this is a great opportunity to now, like, travel as much as we can. And we've been to, like, several countries last summer, and it was really, really fun to see other places that I've never been before. But this summer, like, I need the sun. And you know what I miss the most? Actually, we have this thing in Turkey. When you go into a market, or like, I don't know, like Presbyron, like small, what do you call them? Like small market.
Or a corner shop.
Yeah, corner shop, exactly. I always have to plan what I'm going to say. I don't know if you feel the same when you're like speaking in a different language. You always have like, okay, now I'm going to say this. I'm going to buy this. So I need to say this. I'm tired of that, actually, to be honest. So I just want to go into a shop and just say whatever I want to say. And I know I'm not going to sound weird if I say something wrong, because then I can just say something else in my native language. So I miss that, not thinking about it, like not thinking too much and just be spontaneous. And then,
yeah, it's always hard when they say the wrong thing back to you. It's like, no, you're supposed to say this. And now I don't know what to say. So then I go, Engelska? Or I prata Engelska?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, you were like speaking, and then suddenly they're like, what did you say? It's like, and that's like the common phrase in Sweden, right? It's like, what's I do? And I'm like, oh my God, I said something wrong. Definitely, I can sense it. And I'm like, English? I need to ease my mind a little bit.
Is there anything else you wish to kind of share about your time in Sweden?
It's been quite a journey. So, like, getting a job was the hardest one, because as I said, I mentioned, but the networking is super important. And that's why, like, I use LinkedIn a lot, which is a great tool to expand your network. Otherwise, you might feel lonely. And in these jobs, like, if you're doing something more like social, I might say, like, yeah, social jobs. I don't know how to explain it, like marketing or something more, human resources or something. If you're not working in a like well-known big company like Volvo or something, I think it's harder to get a job. So that's why you need to be active, and then get into. I did that, like every event that I can find, anything that might like, if there's a possibility that I can meet someone, and then that might help me to like open a door for me. Maybe I can hear a job ad or something from someone. So I just did that. Like, don't be shy on that, like go to events, meet some people. The worst thing that can happen is like when you say like, hi, hello, like, can we talk? And then they say no. And then you're like, okay, it's your loss.
You're no worse off, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's the worst thing can happen. Otherwise, just try. So that's what I did. and I'm happy about it.
That's some great advice, and that's a great way of ending the second part, and we can go into the third part, which is you sharing a lot more advice, hopefully. So now we're up to the third part of the podcast, which is a review. We've been chatting off camera, so apologies as well, we're laughing. Ceyda, this is where I ask my guests a bit more of the kind of, it's more like a recap or a review of the time. So if you could go back 2 years to when you first moved abroad, and you could give yourself some advice, what would you tell yourself, or what might you and your husband kind of do differently?
That's a really good question, actually. I mean, what it's also a tough one because I am this like open person, and I don't get afraid of getting into like new places, meeting new people. I'm like very open, but even then, like I was thinking, I was actually kind of afraid to do some stuff. Like I wanted to go to gym because here, like almost every Swede is like working out. They're like really healthy. I can see that. I'm not like healthy, but they're like, fit, and they're really nice. And I was like, okay, I want to do that. And then for some reason, I was like too afraid to be there because I was afraid to be like, oh, I'm going to be that awkward girl who doesn't speak Swedish if I go into like a group, session. And if they speak Swedish, and if I don't understand, then what's going to happen? I was like exaggerating, like overthinking in my mind. So I regret like not doing more in the beginning because I also had the time to do it. And I am pretty sure it would open more and more doors. But that's the thing, when like you shouldn't be afraid. You're like starting this new life, and no one knows you here in the beginning. So you can just be open and try new things. And then, I don't know, it's just, there shouldn't be like embarrassment involved in this beautiful adventure. I know it's hard to say because obviously I am also embarrassed to do this, like going to a gym. It's like basic thing. But I think we could have been more like going out and meeting more people, like going to new, like, I don't know, maybe like a dance course or, something like hobby-wise that also leads us to meet new people and then see new environments. That will be my advice to myself. Like,
yeah, because I did the same thing. The sport has been part of my life for as long as I remember, and being the kind of key way I make friends. And I joined a volleyball team, and there's mostly Swedish people, and they helped me improve my Swedish in a very specific way of playing volleyball. It meant I was exposed to the language, exposed to more people. Okay, they weren't the most social, but they were more social after about 5 or 6 weeks of getting to know them. And, I still speak to a few people who I play volleyball with after, being away for 6 months now. And I had the same thing of, oh, no, I'm not going to be able to speak to people, but their English is perfect. So I guess for you, Turkish is your first language and your English is obviously perfect, but you might want to be comfortable speaking Turkish, but it's difficult. I don't know. Is there a big Turkish community in Gothenburg?
Actually, I mean, I think there is, and there's some. It's like two different communities that it exist in Sweden, because one of is that the people who moved here like in the 80s or something, in the back then, and then they have their children, and then they're living here. But there is also another community which includes people like us, like my husband and me. Like we moved here for the job and just for making a living here for us. And those are the people that I actually connected. And then, but it's a big community. And then we have this like WhatsApp group and stuff, which is fun, obviously, because it's also good to have people who like you don't have to think. As I said, like you can be like talk to about anything in your native language, and that's actually a need at least for me, that I see it, like every day I'm like speaking Swedish at work and English. And then when I come home, I just like talk to my native language the best way that I know, that I can explain myself without like thinking too much. Then it makes it like, oh, okay, that's nice to have. So it's nice to have the people who know your culture, have the connection in that level.
On that topic, then, do you often have calls with people from home quite often, like friends, family? How have you maintained those relationships?
Yeah, I mean, we try to speak to our parents at least 2 times a week. And then it's nice to catch up and know that they're okay, they're healthy and happy. And if they need anything, that we can support. So it's also in our culture, I think, like family-wise, we're like really close. So it's really good to keep that connection. And then this is like expected also. I might say, like, families expect their children like to call them and then let them know what they're doing. And then I still like text my mother when I'm like, she's like, oh, I'm traveling. I'm like, yeah, I'm at work. We just do that sometimes even. And it's really nice. And my friends, I also talk to them. One of like my bestest friend in the world is living in Berlin right now. So we actually talk quite often, I might say, like what's happening, and try to schedule if we can see each other. Also, my other best friend in Turkey. So yeah, it's important to keep the connection.
Are you noticing the similar struggles with your friend who lives in Berlin? Do you talk about the similar things, like, hey, learning the language has been difficult, or God, there's too many rules in this country, or the working environment's weird, or the food, or do you have like similar experiences?
I mean, she's living in Berlin, so I think I might say, like, in the like food wise, obviously there is a big Turkish community in Germany. She doesn't have that difficulty to find something that she likes, I think, I'm assuming. And then, but also the language, obviously. I mean, she either talks in German or in English. When we talk, like, about anything, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be something serious or, life-changing, or we just chat about, anything. And then it's super nice too. And then we both feel like, oh, this is so good. We don't have to think about it. And we're like friends since forever. And then we know each other. Yeah, it's really nice. But she is having, obviously, these difficulties as well. But if you want, you can have her in your podcast. So you can talk to her. Yeah, I will send her.
Always, the more the merrier, especially different places as well. Because I always had the impression that a lot of the Turkish communities were in Munich, not so much Berlin, but I guess Berlin's the capital, right? So it's huge. Because I know a lot of Turkish rap is German rap is Turkish.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. But there is a big thing. It's called Kreuzberg in Berlin, and it's mainly Turkish community living there. So yeah, you should visit. It's fun.
I've been to Berlin, but I went to Potsdam mainly, but I know it's not Berlin.
No, Kreuzberg is there. I'm not sure. Is it in the city center? No, I think it's like its own community there. So it's a different environment.
Yeah, I saw Brandenburg.
Oh yeah, Brandenburg. Sorry. Oh, it's a beautiful city. I love Berlin. I really do.
Yeah, I think I prefer Munich.
You do? Yeah, I've been to Munich, and then it was also really nice. But I don't know, Berlin. Maybe because I lived there, like, for a little while, and I was super like young and experiencing all these things, that I was like going to clubs and then out all night. So maybe that's why it's like really appealing to me.
Going forward, then, what are your future plans? Do you plan to stay in Sweden for the foreseeable future? Do you plan to move after you maybe have your Swedish citizenship, or what is your long-term ambition?
My husband hates moving, that I can say. And then I don't think we want to move again. Because the another thing is that when we moved here and when we found our apartment right now, we were also kind of newly married. We've been married for 2 years when we moved here. And then we had like new furniture and everything. So we actually brought those furniture, like the whole apartment in Turkey. We brought those things here. So now it's really difficult to like sell these things, or I don't know, just move these things again to another country. And then now I'm getting like comfortable here as well. And then in the long run, Sweden seems like a good country to stay. I don't know what happens in 10 years. I can't say for sure, obviously, because you also never know what's going to happen in politics. It's also very scary. Maybe they will just say like, no, you can't stay here anymore. So you have to like move away. And then it becomes a different scenario. So like a bad thing that I don't want to think about. So hopefully our ambition is to like stay here, have our family, and, just have a nice life and travel around. And yeah, maybe when we're older, we can go back, like have like a small, like, I don't know, like a summer house in the Greece, maybe, not even Turkey. So,
I know Croatia is quite popular for Swedes to have houses.
Yeah, that's true though. Yeah. But they also love Antalya. So I heard many of, like, almost everyone knows Antalya in Turkey, every Swede. And but it's very hot, so I don't want to go back there now.
Not even in the winter, like this, like in January when it's dark and cold. 'Cause that's one thing I look, Sweden in summer is beautiful. In the winter, it's horrible. So I would like go to. We went to the Canary Islands in February last year because it was just warm and light. So you got to have some nice weather, and then you go back again to the cold. Because I wouldn't want to leave Sweden in the summer because it's so beautiful. I would want to leave Sweden in the winter when it's dark and cold, and then go traveling to Spain or to Italy or to Greece or somewhere where it's going to have much better weather.
Yeah, that's true. We've never tried that before. So maybe next year we can try that. Then we will see. So I can't say anything. It's dark. It's terrible, especially right now. It's like, I felt like seriously like depressed for a while during the winter. But then I got used to it because it's just like I'm working now, like I have this routine, like going to work, coming home, like I have Swedish course and I'm meeting with my friends. So it's nice right now. And I'm saving all these like time that I will enjoy for the summer. So I don't know if it makes sense. But we will see. Maybe next time we will try winter.
Even a week is probably good.
Yeah, but then I would be really sad to come back here. No? Like, I was like, yeah, we went there. Oh, it's sunny. It's so nice. Then I'm like, okay, we need to move here now because I don't want to leave.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. I haven't thought of it that way.
I don't want to give that.
Maybe Easter then.
Maybe,
But
yeah.
you can go skiing because skiing's really popular in Sweden.
Oh, that's true. We actually tried that. I never tried skiing before. And this Christmas, we went to skiing and it was really fun. I think I'm going to pursue that. Like every winter I can try doing more and more. And it's also like something else, it's like during the summer you swim, you enjoy the, beach and everything. And then during the winter you do this, like skiing. It's also a great activity to do with the kids and, yeah, I enjoy that too.
Is there anything else you wish to share about your life as an expat or your plans or advice you have for other people?
I mean, I think I gave a lot of advices during this session, but I can say a lot of things now that I'm thinking about it. Like, what would I do? What would I say to myself? Like all of these conversations that we had, it's like coming to that point that you are new in a new country, and then don't feel alone and don't let that feeling sink, in your brain, in your heart, and just try to go out there. Otherwise, it's not going to go away. You have to try. I think that's my biggest advice. You have to try it. Nothing's gonna come to your door and then they will be like, oh, so now you're in Sweden, living here, welcome. We were waiting for you. It's like, it's not like that.
We rang you 3 times, you didn't come, so I've come to pick you up.
Exactly, right? So you have to try and thrive, actually.
I think one thing I always think about is you can always go home. Well, we're lucky that most of us can go home if we've left out of choice. You can go home or you can go somewhere else if you don't like it. But
yeah, the biggest thing was like, okay, we want to do this, obviously, but we are not sure if it's gonna work out or not. And then we have our country, like we are still citizens of Turkey, so we can always come back. We have our families and friends, and we can find a job and make a living again. But if we don't try this, then probably we will regret in the next 10, 20 years. So that's the main point that, led us to take that leap. We wanted to try.
Well, it's the whole thing of fortune favours the brave. And if you live abroad and you learn a new language, you speak languages not your mother tongue, then you are brave and you will be fortunate. Whether it's financial, whether it's experience, whether it's knowledge, they're all very valid things to take away and harvest throughout your life. And if you sit in the same room every day or the same city or if you don't stretch yourself in any way, whether it's intellectually, whether it's, learning a new skill or whatever. Thank you for getting in touch with me on Instagram. I was going to go thank Malek now for posting on her story for you to go and see it and make sure I put you in contact with her. And hopefully that'll be the first connection from 2 guests.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. That would be so great.
It's really, really very, very inspirational listening to your story, and I'm very jealous of how quickly you learned Swedish because I would absolutely failed.
No, I can hear it. You have some things, but as I said, you need to use it. Like, you need to be brave about it, and then just like speak. And then the worst thing that they will ask like 3 times, and you're just gonna say like, can you speak a little slower? Like, try every way that you can understand. Otherwise, you always otherwise you always have English. You can just switch.
That's one thing I liked with German and Swedish was slow is the same word, like bitte langsam, like.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it's basically the same.
I guess the persistence is probably the word I'm going to use for your initial time in Sweden, where it wasn't easy. You didn't have work. You didn't have, your husband was had all the things sorted out because of his job, and you just seem to have thrived. And it's quite infectious. That's the word I was looking for. It's quite infectious, and to hear you talk about it is really inspiring for me, and hope.
Oh, thank you.
To see how it's not going to be handed to you on a plate. You have to go and find ways to do it. Find ways to network. Find ways to find either local people who you can speak with, who have the time to speak with you, or find people from your background, your heritage, who have also moved to the same place as a good way of networking, and then use that platform to go further. So yeah, I really, really appreciate your insight and your passion for wanting to do that. Really, really being very
Thank you so much. Oh, that's so great to hear. Thank you so much. I really, really, really love helping people in this case because I have an active LinkedIn account that I can say, and if anyone wants to follow me, they can do it. I would be more than happy to answer, and then sometimes I share some job ads as well, and then use the tools because we have a lot of tools. Like social media is one of them, and then I think it's the key that you need to use these tools to expand your network, and then you will feel more comfortable when you find like-minded people.
Completely. Yeah, I'm fully on board with that, and hopefully your story will help other people also thrive. Please do follow Ceyda on LinkedIn. I'll put your link in the show notes, and I'll put on my social media for everyone to find you and ask you questions because you're more knowledgeable than I am of living in Sweden, as you've done it for twice as long.
No, I mean, I try. I tried a lot of ways, but thank you so much. Thank you for this. And then
Everyone has different experiences, and it's another perspective, another paradigm to view it from.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone is different in, the first thing is that we are all different. So I'm always telling people, like, I've done this because I'm like, I don't have shame on that. Like, I could just go to someone and talk to, and yeah, I can be like open, but you don't have to be that way. And then you need to find your way in to this, community or the culture and everything. So, but I try to help as much as I can. So, and I like, you're more than welcome to like get in touch with me. I would love to help in if I can.
Wonderful. As always, if you have enjoyed the podcast and you have found something really insightful, then please do comment. Please do share with your friends who might be wanting to live abroad or do live abroad and might want some comfort in knowing that they're not alone going through struggles, because it's very difficult. And always, please do subscribe. Please do share it. And we'll see you next time for the Expat Pod.